Kia ora, Crystal. Kia ora, e te whare. I also wanted to ask if Rick and Oscar can come up here as well, please. So, yeah, haru mai. So just a little bit of some acknowledgements, really. Well, first of all, who the heck am I, really? I suppose some of you fellas don't know who I am. I'm one of these northern interlopers from Muri Whenua who've been seeing the light come down here to the land of milk and honey. I've been here only 17 years, but you know, I have a marine science background. I'm a senior analyst at Ngāti Kahungunu Incorporated, and I work in Waia's unit. We've had a full year really of mahi, and I just wanted to acknowledge all the speakers and today from a wide variety of backgrounds, and especially the people who I've worked personally with, and that's Emma, Takaha, Oscar, and Rick as well. So I just want to just say one thing about the passive selection stuff that we were involved in on Rick's vessel, what's the name of your vessel again? The Nancy Glen. Hey. So I think there was a comment, who's been to all the fishhooks? Well, I think Rick has been to all the fishhooks as well over the years, and we've done quite a bit of work with him over time, so ngā mihi Rick. And also I just want to introduce Oscar Howell. He's an employee at Takitimu Seafoods, and so he's, I did a bit of work there, measuring fish, and he was always coming off from the filleting table to see what I was doing in my work, collecting oolets and stuff and asking questions, and so I thought, well, that's, you know, he's obviously got an interest in this, and so having talked to him, we thought, well, we actually want to encourage the rangatahi to get out on the boats with us, find out what the basis for the research that underpins his job at Takitimu. So ngā mihi Oscar as well. So yeah, we've got like I said, a wide selection of topics here today, and there's some mics going around there. So if you have any questions for the panel, yeah, put your hand up. So I know some. Oh, look, here we go.
Mauri ona. He pātai tāku o taku whananga, JB. Which on the spot, right? I've been a member of Whanganea Roti for the past 4 years. And you will remember me coming to your board meetings and talking and asking questions about our fishing quota fund. In the past 2 years, I've had concerns about the deficit coming from Takitimu Seafoods. 1.6 2 years ago, and around about 3 mil this past year. I know you're going to go into another deficit. The writing's on the wall. You're going to go into another deficit. Do you know how much that deficit is going to be for the new financial year? And when we have the AGM later this year, can you tell the iwi where that loss is going? Okay. If it's valid, fine. But if there's something not right, well then you guys need to be answerable. And here we have a right to know where that loss is occurring. So, Kia ora.
Good up, in regards to your apartheid, others have been protected, that is all qualified answers. Tēnā koe api for that big, huge pārtai. In terms of your big, huge pārtai, there are people within the CAC all qualified to answer that question. And yes, it's been said that we have the speed wobbles, and part and parcel of that is putting ourselves into a space where we can self-truth ourselves. Yeah, so that's the best I can answer that.
Kia ora for that question. I know it's a pressing thing on a lot of people's minds, and you know, we talked a lot about, or with Peter talking about, you know, doesn't, you know, let's just deal with the Coaster's theories, let's deal with the effect of it, never mind about the fundamentals, but you know, we have on the land te mana o te wai. I think the writing is on the wall. There's going to be a te mana o te moana at some stage where we set those priorities, same as for freshwater in terms of how we use and interact with the marine environment. So I think you know, a lot of the research that we're doing here is leaning into that with that view, looking out into the future and trying to, you know, in the case of the Marine Cultural Health Program, incorporate some of, well, you know, we got a heap of Western science in terms of how the environment looks like, the marine environment, but we don't have that similar level of detail in terms of mātauranga that is readily available and to be used by decision makers. So I also acknowledge that, you know, it is time for decision making, but in my opinion, what I've seen is that decision making, you also need to be collecting the information, and so I value the question, and I'm sure you know who the people he's talking about who are more qualified to answer that question. Ka pai matua. Anybody else? Go up.
To Emma. How long? I like your idea of drafting fish and you know, Māori, you don't like momo kai, eh? So you fishing well there. How long do you think it'll be before that's operational on a more commercial scale?
Thanks for that question. We have a concept that we have managed to prove as of Sunday, literally. The MB Smart Idea Programme usually runs for 2 or 3 years, so we're going into the final year of that. So we have a little bit of time left to fine-tune things, but that sort of research is very much focused on trying to look at the concept, what might be the challenges and the limitations, and gather science around it rather than try and commercialise it. But given what I've seen going on overseas on bigger budgets with much cleverer scientists than me, I think that trawling has an end point. When I first started in fisheries science about 20 years ago, that there was a lot of thought that it was going to be banned, and it had a sell-by date and it was overdue, but we still have to feed quite a large population, not just in New Zealand but around the world. So there's 5-10 years, I think this sort of thing is going to be, the technology is improving all the time. Just since we've started, the kind of cameras that you can use, the speed, we've changed our Wi-Fi systems just over the last 12 months because there's something better. I have to keep telling Steve, no, we can't buy more tech, but that's essentially what's going to make this thing work. So I don't have I can't give you an exact date, but I'm really hopeful that this sort of thing will be picked up, will become a bit more mainstream, and it is the future.
Kia ora. We started this release of small fish 25 years ago. I've actually got a picture on my phone that I took for my net maker to show him that using different size meshes it was successful. And what was happening, well, we were fishing for flounder, soles, and in the net, this is when we were pulling 2 nets at once. In those nets we had a terrific amount of small fish, all different varieties, which went back over the side. 2 days later you were trawling them up, smelly, dead, terrible. And this net maker still makes nets for me. He's made every net I've ever had in New Zealand. He said, "That's all right, Rick. I'll put a square mesh collard on there for you." I said, "What?" I had no idea what it was. He said, "Leave it to me." And at that time he had his net shed down opposite Paddy's Irish pub on the wharf. So he said, "I'll make it, stitch it on the net, and tell me how you go." Well, we couldn't believe it. I've got a picture here that we took 25 years ago. I've kept it, where we probably got 2 fish that are not flounder and sole. And that started us on a long journey of trying to improve the way we caught our quota. We had observers on the boat where we caught, I think it was over 3,000 fish. 35-page scientific report was written up where we let go 78% more small gurnets. And for that we won a New Zealand Sustainable Business Award. We are continuing that work today. We're about to start another project on how much our nets are tearing up the bottom, where I'll be pulling my gear, which I think is super light, there's no wire, heavy stuff in it. And then we'll be pulling normal trawl gear. We're having sensors built to go onto this gear to show us what impact it has on the bottom. And so it goes on, and once you've started it, you can't let it go. You don't want to revert to the old days where you're catching everything and biffing what you don't want over the side. You can be selective, and the work that Emma's been doing with Carl is on the inshore here, and it's been very productive. I mean, if we had plenty of money thrown our way, we would have completed all this about 5 years ago, but it is a struggle to get the money because a lot of people don't realise what you're talking about because they're not out there to see the damage that can be done. But we do care about the ocean, and it's great. I remember, Emma, when you sent me the pictures that were taken in Aberdeen, I think it was, in the UK, with underwater where the fish were swimming out through these square meshes. Wow, there we go, there's the proof. So it's ongoing, and there's quite a few of us that are very, very keen to continue it. Thank you.
Kia ora. Are you ready to hang up your fishing overalls? Because, you know, given that there's a sunseas industry in trawling. One fishing story, then.
So we're doing this research project with Shade, and he said, "I'd like to bring a very interesting young man, he's keen, Oscar." And I thought to myself, well, I've only got a 40-footer, we have got 4 bunks. What's going to be like having 2 strangers on board? Well, you know, you're living together in a space, you know, this size. Well, first of all, when we were sailing out, I was talking to Shade, and he stood in the wheelhouse like this. Not like this. I thought, this guy knows what he's doing. The next thing, he's down the fish room sorting fish, remember, measuring fish, and I thought, my God, this is pleasurable. You know, it was enjoyable to have these guys on board, and the next project will be having them there again. So they're 2 good guys to have on a small inshore boat. Thank you.
Ngā mahi nui ki a Ngāti Kahinganui, ngā hiwi, koutou koto, tō te kaha. I'm just wondering, Emma, all the beautiful work you're doing with Carl and Rick and our Oscar, is the same sort of work happening anywhere else in New Zealand? Thank you.
That's a really good question. There are bits and pieces of work going on. Some of the results I showed you today were from working on a boat down at Littleton with a great team down there. But it's certainly a slightly different environment compared to the kind of work that's going on overseas and has been going on for some time, for you know, the kind of T90 square mesh stuff that Rick's talking about is being used overseas, and you know, there's a huge amount of research and effort going on. Some of it is translatable and can be brought over here, and then, but money is and funding is sometimes an issue. But there is an awful lot of amazing grassroots work going on, and skippers that are changing their gear all the time because they have to make a living, to avoid snapper because they don't have quota for it, or to avoid terraki or whatever it is. So it's probably not well documented, but that's getting better in terms of how that information is recorded electronically now. But yeah, there's a lot of innovation going on. It's probably just not well captured or researched, but I don't doubt that it's making a difference.
We've got one more question.
Yep, I had a question for the kaha, well, it was from one of the whānau, and they asked how can they be involved in their mahi and potentially be educated in the process, like might need to go to EIT or somewhere, they want to be involved with the hapu whānau, and is the opportunity for that?
Kia ora ngai o. You didn't have to ask me a question if you felt like I was left out or anything. So we're going to have whānau at the centre of the monitoring as a part of the Marine Cultural Health Program, and so you know, we haven't caught it all like yourself around how we can better engage whānau in that, and we've got like a training budget to support whānau that need to, you know, if it's free diving courses or the such. So on the website there's also the contact information, email address and phone number, so whānau can get in touch directly that way, or alternatively there's the mana whenua committee that will be filtering out the kōrero to the whānau.
See, I didn't make it up. Yes, I had something.
Does it have to be whānau, or can it be born and bred local, you know, Māori, Pākehā?
Oh, I think whānau are pretty flexible. We know you're kitty, you know, you can come along. We're not going to say no.
Yeah, I just know there's future people who want to study and stay in Hawke's Bay, and to get on a program like this is quite impressive.
I think because it's a new initiative, we're kind of still trying to feel ourselves, you know, around and how it all works, but we're pretty open to those things.
Well, if there's no other questions, I just want to, I guess, just reiterate that point that I don't want to say that we're in transition, but we are, and certainly in you know, resource use in the marine environment. You know, we've banned oil and gas exploration. We've got this framework in the freshwater realm now where it sets that hierarchical nature of you know, what's the most and what has the first dibs and needs. And I think that is coming to the marine environment, and the incorporation of mātauranga or cultural perspectives in setting the likes of quota. You know, we're going through a review of reform of the RMA. Well, you know, I think it's well overdue that there's reform for the likes of the QMS as well. So you know, it is a little bit more difficult envisaging these things, and you know, in the marine environment, because we're aliens to it in a way. So I just want to keep that at the forefront of everyone's minds, that you know, our tile in Tai is, you know, it's an evolving space, and I guess the iwi has, you know, given its investment in Taki Timu, they've got no choice but to confront these issues face on. So, kia ora.